Welcome back to Counsil Customs. This week we're going to start off on This week we're going to start off on a much better note than we ended last week on. So, for starters, I just got in my nice fresh wiring harness. So this is our new standalone harness for the truck. So we got that going. I've got a little bit more wiring done up here on the front. Got the wiring going over to the headlights run. I haven't been able to, whoop, that's gone forever. Now I gotta find it. I really do have to find it. All right. So I got the headlights for the wiring to do. Wiring for the headlights to do. All right. I've got the ground mounted to the head. I need to mount this ground to the frame. I've got a handful of grounds over here to start building. I've got some battery cable over here for us to run our main battery cable. On top of all of that, Dad came up here tonight and he's giving me a hand where we just tested on one side to see how it came out. Let me walk you around to that side. I'll show you what we've gotten done so far. Giving it a whirl, seeing how it turns out. And we had this carpet in stock. It's rubber-backed carpet, and we tried to mold it ourselves and see how it comes out. It's coming out pretty decent so far. It's not done. We've only done one side, so I'll show you what we got so far. So this is the passenger side molded around, and I'm liking how it's coming out. We still haven't trimmed it back, but here you can see the back side of it. And we've got a big old wrinkle, but I've got to do that side, and we still got to trim off some of this because basically from like here back doesn't matter. And like from here to about right there, like there's a big box that we can cut out to try to get the wrinkles out of it. Because all that's gonna be underneath the seat and it doesn't matter. So now I'm gonna set up the camera and I'll show you how we're molding this carpet around to make this all work. It's not terrible, it's not super hard. It's not the most easy thing either. But let me get the camera set up and y'all can see how we're doing it. There it is. There's the final result of how the carpet all came out. This section right here is where the seat's gonna go. There's a bolt right there, right here. And then all that's gonna be covered. I'm not worried about any of the back wall because all that's gonna be covered as well. But there we go. It's got carpet. I'm gonna get some aluminum angle iron where I can make my own little threshold pieces to go on there. Now that the carpet is done, I can mount the drive-by-wire gas pedal and I can go ahead and start running the wiring for the engine and plug in the drive-by-wire gas pedal into the throttle control module and make a little bit more progress on everything. But I really wanted to get the carpet down so that way I could get the gas pedal in, so that way I could figure out where all that stuff's gonna land. But that's tomorrow's project. Tonight, I'm gonna go get a shower. See y'all in the morning. All right, so I got in the harness the other day. I don't know if I told y'all that whenever I looked it over, I thought it was very good quality. Here's everything. It's got a really nice fuse block. All this stuff looks really nice, really good quality. The only thing is, this has the Multec connectors, and for some reason my truck had the US car, so I've got the little adapter plugs going in here. And I mean, you can look at this thing. It looks like a bowl of spaghetti on top of this engine. So I'm not the greatest wiring person, so I'm just trying to focus. I'm pretty decent at it. I can get it done. So right now, I just need to focus, get everything knocked out. Hey, did you know this thing has 706 heads? Which apparently I didn't know that was like really decent heads until I Googled it. What does that mean? And apparently they're like, if you're doing junkyard build, putting something together, those are like really good heads to have. So there is a win in this whole thing somewhere. So I'm going to work on keep plugging all this stuff in, start zip tying it, cleaning it up, getting it in here where it's pretty. I guess it's decent. Okay. I don't know. Better than this. So I'm going to keep working on all this, get everything plugged in. And then once I get all the engine plugged in and zip tied there, I'll show y'all what we're going to do next, because next I need to run our wiring around and show you what we decided for over here, where our computer is going to mount. All right, so I've got all of the wiring for the engine all mounted in here. And see if I can get you all. So that's all in. I've taken this cover on and off so many times. Honestly, I don't feel like taking it off right now. And I'm only leaving it on there because I like the way it looks. And I like to see it on there. So I'm leaving it sitting on there for right now. But then you have the wiring coming out of the back side of the engine, going up and over. And then I'm going to mount the ECU right here on the engine bay. So this wiring for that is all going to plug in on the bottom side. I'm going to put the ECU right here. The fuse block is going to be right next to it. The ground, I'll mount it in here somewhere. And then we have the OBD2, which is going to run inside of the truck, as well as all of this bundle of wire. This one is for the gas pedal. This bundle is for future gauges. So all this stuff, I'm going to run it through the firewall, get it to the inside. I'm going to get all of this mounted in here. But while I've got the truck jacked up, because I had to plug the stuff into the transmission and all that. So since I'm doing that, I went ahead and started routing our battery cable that's going to the starter, our factory harness the harness for the truck wired down to there as well, down to the starter. That's what this cable that's out of my reach, that's what that cable is. There's 2 wires inside of there. Right now I just have it loomed and hanging down. I've got to get those and that battery cable all put onto the starter. And then I can come up here and route my battery cable up and around into my battery. But while I have the truck jacked up, I'm going to go ahead and put all of my grounds on, which is the reason why I'm stopping to tell y'all about this and not showing you the finished product. There's plenty of YouTube pages that show you, how to plug these in and all that stuff. I'm not here to be a how-to. I'm just working on it and showing you how I'm doing it. But the way I did it was all that stuff's plugged in. I told you also I was going to make a mount for the air cleaner, and that's all mounted on there now. So the air cleaner is now on for good. Got the MAF sensor hooked in. All that's hooked up. But while I have the truck jacked up, I'm going to go ahead and put all the grounds on the bottom from there, from the front bumper to the back of the cab. Once I get the grounds to here, later on whenever I put the bed, I have another ground for that. Was right there. Now it's missing somewhere on the floor back here. But also, while I have the truck jacked up, I'm going to mount that trans cooler as well. I just have a handful of things that are all under the truck to get taken care of right now. So it's time consuming. That's what I'm going to get done. I want to get all of the engine harness stuff mounted into place and everything wired from the firewall forward completely, where the last thing I've got to do is come back and work on the inside of the cab and fueling, so that way we can get the engine to fire. It's not going to be on this episode because I still have to get a couple more pieces to come in for that, and when they get here I'll explain what those are. But we're making a lot of progress, a lot of big progress going on. But I will show you more when I get the truck set back on the ground so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Because right now it's hard to show you. I've got a lot of stuff sitting up on the firewall and on the cowl and all that. I want to be able to get everything out of the way so I can show you what we've done, all cleaned up and setting down. So I'm going to get working on the bottom of the truck, getting all that stuff squared away, and then we'll go from there. Well, it has been an extremely busy day today. Got a lot more done than I expected. At the same time, didn't get as much done as I was hoping. I'm still not done. I got a couple more things I'm going to wrap up today before we call it quits. But I'm just giving you a quick recap of where we're sitting right now. So right now we have all of the grounds in the truck are connected. We have the power cable coming up to the battery right now. We have the engine harness completely wired. We have most of the wiring for the truck from the firewall forward completed. I'm about to work on headlights right now, parking lights, all that stuff. Still got to figure out all of my AC lines, which ones need to go to what, because there's my factory compressor. I need to figure those out. Once I get those wired in, all of the front wiring, well, I also have the fan trigger wire right here, or this is the with the ignition key. So that's the key. And then I think I'm going to end up running a relay on my fan for it to kick on at a certain temperature, shut off at a certain temperature, all that stuff. Here's what I came up with for my wiring for my computer. So there's the ECU. There is the little fuse block for the engine. And then there's where all your wiring and everything goes into through to the gauges and everything like that. It's not the cleanliest, I guess you would say, engine bay, because yes, I could have hid all of this wiring, but I wanted it to be serviceable. If it's going to be a daily driver, I need to be able to get in here and figure out what is damaged, if there's anything damaged, to work on it. So that was my point of doing it the way that I am. It's all serviceable. Now in here, it's gotten a little bit more chaotic than it has gotten more complete, because now this wiring right here, this is from the engine harness, from the standalone harness. So I'm going to end up just looping this up out of the way for right now. Looping that up probably right there, cap it off, call it done. I'm waiting on a cigarette lighter to come in the mail right now, so that'll be that one. I need a switch for reverse lights. I'm not putting it on the deal. I want it on a actual thing, so that way if I need to use my backup lights during, hooking up a trailer or something like that, and I put it in park, I can still go back there and use my backup lights, which is why I'm putting them on a switch. So that's going to be reverse lights. These right here are all going to go to the gauge panel, different things on the gauge panel, indicator lights and all that kind of stuff. And then down here, like I said, we already talked about that one. We just talked about that one. This one is the turn signal all the turn signal wiring. A good majority of all this is turn signal wiring. There's my dimmer switch right there. And back there is my OBD2 port. So a good majority of all this stuff in here, I know where it all goes. It's just I haven't gotten into the truck to really focus on interior wiring. It's not too bad. It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty fast stuff. I just haven't got there yet. But we're making progress. Whole thing is making progress. So let me continue on, get a couple more things wrapped up, and then we'll come back and show you what we get done. All right, guys, Sunday night, this is where we're going to end it. I'm a lot further than I expected. I'm still not as far as I want to be. With that being said, I don't care. I'm gonna tell y'all, and I'm gonna tell myself, I'm very happy with the amount of progress we made on this truck this week. For me, not knowing what I'm doing with LS engines, and then this is our final outcome. So our factory harness is up above. I say factory. Whenever I say factory, I'm talking about the truck harness. Our truck harness is up above, it drops down. That's the battery cable right there running around. That is our ECU harness dropping down over here. We have our fuse block for our ECU and everything there. Everything from there driving into the engine bay, or out of the engine bay into the cab over here. Still haven't messed with this, but we have our drive-by pedal, cable, whatever, wire box up there. We got our gas pedal right there, and all this stuff is mounted. Now, next week, I can tackle some of this interior wiring, making some kick panels, mounting our dimmer switch, really tidying up this area, as well as being able to dig into AC lines, tightening all that stuff up, radiator hoses, and fuel. Fuel is our next big task we're gonna jump into. So my buddy Chad came over yesterday and he brought me these fuel rails. So this is a non-return style, which the factory Crown Vic is non-return style. And we'll dig into next week of what we think we're going to end up doing. But that's next week's deal. We're going to dig into fuel from Crown Vic stuff to LS engine. But this is the truck on how it came out. I'm very stoked. I love the way that this bracket is holding that into place now. Nothing's floppy. But that is how we are looking on the engine bay. And for a daily driver engine bay, I think that is very well accessible for anything that might ever need to be worked on. But still, once you shut the hood, everything looks clean. Or whenever you pop the hood at a car show, I mean, everything looks nice and clean. It's not overbearing. We could have hidden wiring and done all that stuff and ran wiring on the inside of the wheel wells, but I'd rather have it up here where it's the most dry and drive this truck and just cruise it. And that's how we're going to leave it. But we've got some more stuff to knock out. Like I said, the fuel rails, that's going to be next week's project down below there. Once we have fuel rails done and we test the fuel system and see that we have no leaks and we fire this engine up, that cover can get bolted down for good. We still need to charge our AC system. We still have interior to do. We still have a bed to figure out. We still have a hood to put on. We still have a windshield to get in. We still have to pull the windows out and put all brand new seals in these windows. It's a lot of time, or a lot of things to do. And like I've been telling y'all, I do have a deadline in mind. I'll go ahead and let it slip on what it is I'm trying to shoot for. And I'm not going to hold myself to it perfectly, because if I miss the deadline, it's okay. I cannot. I still have a day job, and I'm not doing this for a living. I'm literally doing this just for fun on the side. So if I miss my own deadline, it's okay. I've already actually got one following it up if I miss the one I'm shooting for. So we're gonna shoot for Cruising the Coast. I've never in my life been. My dad's gone, and he says it's a great time. So that's what our goal is. We're gonna shoot for Cruising the Coast with the F100. Looks like rain's on its way in. So I'm actually, man, we don't have a bed on this thing, but it is starting to get a little bit of a hot rod rake. Starting to go downhill a little bit, and I like it. But that's what we're shooting for. If we don't make it, it's okay. We do have a really cool show right after that we could shoot for, but I'm not gonna slow down because I have another show that I could shoot for. I'm still gonna keep pressing for Cruising the Coast. So if you're familiar with the dates, that's October 6th through the 13th. Don't quote me on that. I know the starting date is the 6th, but that is less than a month away right now. And you see where we're at with the truck. We still have a lot to go, but we've made a lot of progress. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate y'all watching. See y'all next time.